There is something deeply magnetic about a woman who is rooted in her feminine essence. Not the kind of femininity that is forced, exaggerated, or put on like an accessory, but the kind that lives in her, breathes in her, flows through her without needing permission or applause. It's the aura of a woman who knows herself, her softness, her depth, her inner fire, her emotional intelligence, her values, and her worth. A woman who doesn't chase love but inspires it. A woman who is not desperate to be chosen because she is already deeply chosen by herself. When a man encounters a woman like this, something shifts in him. Not in a superficial way, not in a way that makes him simply attracted or interested, but in a way that makes him devoted. In a way that awakens in him the desire to show up as a better man, to protect, to cherish, to commit, to invest, to stay. And the irony is, the women who cause this kind of impact aren't trying to make a man addicted to them. They're simply living in alignment with who they are meant to be. But here's the truth. Many women today have been conditioned to disconnect from this part of themselves, to harden, to perform, to compete, to operate in survival mode, to trade softness for strength, intuition for logic, receiving for earning, emotion for efficiency. And while these things may help a woman achieve and survive, they can also quietly drain her ability to truly connect with others and with herself. So right now, I want to invite you into a different kind of conversation. A conversation not about superficial tips or cheap tactics, but about the feminine habits that create emotional gravity. The kind of gravity that makes a man feel you, not just see you. The kind that calls him closer, deeper, and more intentionally into your life. Before we begin, I want you to take a breath, not a shallow one, a deep one, a breath for yourself, a breath that says, I am here, I am listening, and I am open to remembering who I truly am. If you feel called to reclaim your feminine energy, your emotional power, and the grace that has always lived inside of you, then stay with me until the end. And if you haven't already, subscribe and become part of this space. We are women who rise, but we rise without losing the softness that makes us magnetic. Let's begin. 1. Soft confidence. There is a confidence that is loud, forceful, and hungry for validation. And then there is soft confidence, the kind that is almost quiet but impossible to ignore. Soft confidence is not performance. It is presence. It's the woman who walks into a room and does not need to be the loudest voice or the most noticeable person to be felt. She is felt because she is comfortable in her own skin. Soft confidence comes from a deep, uninterrupted relationship with self-worth, the kind that does not depend on external attention, male approval, or social comparison. It is a way of being that says, I am enough, I choose myself, and I do not rush my life. When a man encounters a woman with this energy, it destabilizes his usual patterns. Most men today are used to women either proving themselves or pretending not to care. But a woman with soft confidence does neither. She doesn't need to prove anything. And she doesn't need to play the game of emotional detachment. She simply exists in truth. She simply is. Think about women like the queen archetype. Regal not because she demands a throne, but because she already knows she is one. Or think of mythic feminine figures like the Empress or Aphrodite, who hold both sensuality and grounded inner power. Their allure does not come from doing, it comes from being. Soft confidence expresses itself in feminine habits like speaking slowly and with intention, instead of rushing or filling silence, allowing pauses in conversation without discomfort, not explaining your value, letting it be seen through your behavior, maintaining emotional composure instead of reacting impulsively. Moving with grace instead of urgency. This type of energy is addictive because it is rare. Most women are caught in constant reaction, to fear, to insecurity, to pressure, to timelines, to expectations. A woman with soft confidence is in creation, not reaction. She is choosing her responses, she is curating her life, she is self-possessed. Ask yourself, do I know who I am? Without needing to be validated, admired, or chosen by anyone else. If the answer feels uncertain, that's not a failure. It's an invitation, a call back to yourself. Soft confidence is not something you perform. It is something you remember. 2. Being emotionally receptive. One of the most powerful feminine habits, and one that deeply affects how a man bonds emotionally, is being receptive. Receptivity is not passivity. It is not weakness. It is not dependence. It is the ability to receive attention, affection, care, presence, effort, and love without resistance, distrust, or self-sabotage. A woman who is emotionally receptive understands that love flows when there is space for it to land. She does not block intimacy with defensiveness. She does not reject compliments, affection, or support. She allows herself to be seen. This is a profound act of vulnerability, and it is magnetic. Many modern women have learned to live in masculine energy as a survival strategy, to lead, to control, to organize, to plan, to protect themselves from being hurt. And while these strengths are valuable, they can limit emotional connection when they become the default mode, especially in romantic relationships. A receptive woman lets a man feel needed, not in a dependent way, but in a collaborative way. She allows him to contribute. She allows him to show up. She lets love flow toward her. This habit shifts everything. Historically, women like Cleopatra, Sappho, and great feminine figures in literature knew the power of emotional receptivity. They understood how to lean back emotionally, to create spaciousness. They understood that connection deepens not when a woman tries to control the pace of love, but when she allows it to unfold. Receptivity sounds like, "I appreciate that. Thank you. I love how you did that. I feel really cared for when you do that." Receptivity feels like letting your guard down gradually, allowing admiration to enter your heart instead of deflecting it, receiving kindness without apologizing or shrinking. Ask yourself, do I know how to receive love, or have I only learned how to give it? Receiving love requires courage. It requires trust. It requires softness that does not collapse. It is strength in open form. And when a man meets a woman who receives his love, he doesn't just admire her, he invests in her. 3. The art of emotional contrast. A man does not bond through logic. He bonds through emotional experience. Emotional contrast is the feminine habit of allowing your emotional range, depth, warmth, lightness, mystery, gentleness, to be felt in a grounded and authentic way. It is not about mood swings or manipulation. It is not about drama. Rather, it is the art of embodying the fullness of your emotional world without overwhelming or suppressing it. Emotional contrast is what makes a woman unforgettable. There are women who try to be endlessly agreeable, constantly pleasant, always easy. They don't express their desires because they're afraid of being burdensome. They don't show disappointment because they fear losing love. They swallow their emotions and present only the most digestible version of themselves, and then wonder why men feel comfortable with them, but not captivated by them. Then there are women who express every emotion without filter or responsibility. They spill, they flood, they exhaust. Their emotional world rushes outward, raw and uncontrolled, and rather than creating closeness, it creates distance. Emotional contrast is the balance between the two extremes. It is knowing how to feel deeply while expressing with grace. It is honoring what you feel without collapsing into it. It is in many ways emotional maturity combined with emotional richness. The feminine is emotional by nature. This is not a flaw, it is a superpower. Emotion is how the feminine inspires connection, devotion, art, music, creation. Emotion is the language of intimacy. Think of feminine archetypes like the muse. She inspires not because she performs, but because she feels. Her presence awakens something in others. She colors life with meaning simply by allowing herself to be emotionally alive. This looks like smiling when something warms you, not hiding it to appear indifferent. Allowing sadness to be spoken gently, not buried, expressing desire clearly. I would love to see you, instead of pretending you don't care. Letting excitement show without self-consciousness. Letting affection soften your voice instead of masking it. Men remember how a woman made them feel, not just how she looked, not just what she did, but the emotional texture of her presence. This is why emotional contrast creates connection that lingers. Ask yourself, Is it safe for me to feel deeply, or do I protect myself from my own heart? A woman who feels is a woman who is alive, and aliveness is irresistible. 4. Grace in boundaries. There is a quiet, elegant strength in a woman who knows how to set boundaries without hostility, fear, or apology. Boundaries are not walls. Boundaries do not shut others out. Boundaries simply define what is allowed to enter your heart, your life, and your energy. A woman without boundaries is a woman who gives too much and eventually loses herself. She says yes when she means no. She tolerates treatment that wounds her. She makes excuses for disrespect. She stays where she is starving for emotional nourishment, and little by little she becomes drained, resentful, and disconnected from her worth. On the other hand, a woman with harsh, defensive boundaries becomes impenetrable. She does not let love in. She hardens her tenderness into sharpness. She protects herself so fiercely that nothing reaches her, not even the affection she desires. Grace in boundaries is a feminine middle path. It is the ability to say no with softness, to choose yourself without attacking, to protect your energy without closing your heart. A boundary is not a demand for someone else to change. It is a declaration of what you will or will not participate in. For example, I won't continue this conversation if it becomes disrespectful. I enjoy spending time with you, and I also need space for myself. I care about you, but my emotional well-being has to stay intact. This is a woman who guards her inner world with discernment, not fear. And here's the key. A man respects what you respect about yourself. If you tolerate inconsistency, he will become inconsistent. If you tolerate disrespect, he will become disrespectful. If you tolerate emotional unavailability, he will offer only fragments of presence. But if you honor your worth, not through anger, but through gentle clarity, he will either rise or exit. Either outcome is grace. Many great women in history understood boundaries as sacred. Queen archetypes, for example, are not cold, but they are selective. They do not grant endless access. Their openness is earned through respect and consistency. Their love is abundant, but not uncontrolled. They give fully, but only where there is emotional safety. Ask yourself, do I protect my heart with grace or with hardness? Boundaries are not a shield, they are a standard. And a woman with standards invites devotion, not negotiation. 5. The power of slowness. In a world addicted to urgency, emotional urgency, romantic urgency, life urgency, one of the most feminine habits a woman can embody is slowness. Slowness is not laziness. It is presence. Slowness is not indecision. It is discernment. Slowness is not disinterest. It is depth. Slowness is the choice to let things unfold at their natural pace, to allow connection to breathe, to allow attraction to grow instead of forcing intensity, to let love take root instead of chasing the high of instant closeness. Most women rush because they fear loss. Fear of being forgotten, replaced, or dismissed leads to emotional speeding, texting back instantly to maintain attention, oversharing to accelerate intimacy, investing emotionally before trust has been earned, clinging to potential rather than observing behavior. But the feminine is not meant to rush. The feminine is rhythmic. She blooms like seasons, slowly, intentionally, beautifully. Slowness makes a man pursue, not because you're performing aloofness, but because your energy naturally signals, I do not rush what is sacred. Slowness gives him space to wonder about you, to reflect on you, to value you. Slowness teaches him your presence is something to be approached with intention. In literature, mythology, and spiritual traditions, the feminine is almost always associated with nature, the moon's cycles, the ocean tides, the blooming of flowers. Nature never rushes, yet everything is accomplished. Nature is profound because it unfolds in time, not force. Slowness sounds like, I'd like to take my time getting to know each other. I enjoy how this is unfolding. I don't need to rush anything. Slowness feels like not responding immediately, not filling silence with noise, letting moments linger, letting desire breathe. Ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I slow down? When you embrace slowness, you create emotional gravity. You stop being something a man consumes quickly and forgets, and instead become something that stays with him, something he feels in his body long after the moment passes. Slowness is not about withholding love. It is about honoring the pace at which love becomes meaningful. 6. The quiet magnetism of mystery. Mystery is not secrecy. Mystery is not withholding information or playing emotional games. Mystery is the presence of inner depth, a world within you that is rich, alive, meaningful, and not immediately accessible to anyone who has not earned intimacy with you. Mystery is your inner life. Your thoughts, your dreams, your passions, your spiritual grounding, your emotional landscape, the parts of you that cannot be understood through quick access, but only through shared experience, trust, and presence over time. A woman with mystery has a relationship with herself that is private, sacred, and ongoing. She is not a mirror reflecting back what others want to see. She is not a loud performance of identity or personality. She is not constantly explaining herself or narrating her worth. She knows who she is, and she allows others to discover her layer by layer. This does not mean being distant. This does not mean being cold. This does not mean withholding affection. It means that your worth is not revealed immediately or entirely upon being noticed. Many women reveal themselves too quickly, emotionally, verbally, energetically, out of a desire to be understood or chosen or assured. They hand over their entire story in the earliest stages of connection. They feel a spark, and suddenly the man receives full emotional access. But when everything is given instantly, there is no journey, and the masculine bonds through the journey. Mystery is the unfolding. It is the woman who has interests outside of being desired, who has hobbies, passions, and curiosities that fill her without needing an audience, who has emotional practices, journaling, prayer, movement, reflection that tether her to her center, who lives in relationship with her inner self, not just her external identity. Men do not fall in love with a woman they understand fully at once. They fall in love with the feeling that there is always more to discover. Mystery sounds like taking your time before sharing your most intimate stories, letting silence exist without trying to make the moment more comfortable, revealing thoughts gradually as connection deepens, allowing someone to earn access to the softer parts of you. Mystery feels like a sense of depth in your eyes, a calmness in your presence, a life that does not orbit around romantic attention. Historically, the most captivating feminine figures were women who possessed inner worlds. Women like the poet Sappho or the philosopher Hypatia or the characters found in great literature. Women who were not interesting because they were elusive, but because they were deep, because they thought, they felt, they dreamed. Ask yourself, do I cultivate a life that nourishes my soul, or am I waiting for someone else to bring meaning into it? Mystery is the result of living fully, not waiting to be filled. 7. Devotion to self-beauty. Not perfection, but presence. Beauty is not just appearance. Beauty is expression. Beauty is energy. Beauty is presence. There are women who are conventionally beautiful but lack radiance. Their beauty is only surface level, a visual arrangement, not an energetic experience. And then there are women who walk into a room and the air seems to soften around them. They glow from a place that clothing or makeup alone cannot create. This is self-beauty. Beauty that comes from being in love with your own existence. Self-beauty is not about looking flawless. It is not about chasing youth or admiration. It is not about impressing others. Self-beauty is about living in your body with reverence. It is how you breathe, how you speak, how your shoulders relax when you feel safe, how you touch the world with your hands, how you look at life and love and yourself. A woman who tends to her beauty tends to her being. This looks like enjoying the way sunlight feels on your skin, wearing clothes that feel like a second language to your body, treating your voice as something worth hearing, caring for your physical form with affection, not punishment. The feminine body is not something to be controlled. It is something to be inhabited. When you tend to your beauty from presence, not perfectionism, your energy changes. You move with more softness, you feel more grounded, you speak with more resonance, you become more felt. Beauty is not something to achieve, it is something to return to. Great feminine archetypes throughout history understood this, from the elegance of ancient queens to the grace of classical dancers to the tender fluidity of painters and poets. Beauty was not a commodity, it was a devotion, a ritual, a relationship. And this is what creates addiction. Not the kind that traps or manipulates, but the kind that inspires awe. Men become deeply drawn to women who inhabit themselves fully, not because these women are irresistible in a superficial way, but because their presence awakens something ancient and human, the desire to adore, to cherish, to witness beauty up close. Ask yourself, do I treat my body as a vessel of presence or as an object to be judged? When you return to beauty as an experience, not a performance, you return to your feminine source. Your radiance is not manufactured, it is remembered. At the heart of everything we have explored is this truth. Feminine magnetism begins with a woman returning to herself. When you feel at home in your own skin, your presence becomes a refuge. When you honor your emotional world, your softness becomes a strength. When you move slowly, receive love, and live with depth, you become unforgettable without effort. You do not chase love when you remember your worth. Love comes toward you because it recognizes itself in you. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe, stay close, and continue this journey with me. There is so much more to explore together, and so much more of yourself to meet. You are not becoming someone new. You are returning to the woman you were always meant to be.